Thank you guys for joining. Last minute. This week's Parashat Toledot, continuing in our weekly Parasha quest to learn something small from the Parasha. Once again, thank you to Elevate for tonight's dinner. Tiskulim is what guys for showing up. In the beginning of the Parasha, the Torah tells us, Parasha tells us, Ve'ele Toledot Yitzchak ben Abraham, Avraham holidet Yitzchak. This is the lineage of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. Abraham birthed Yitzchak. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. Thank you so much. Thank you. So that we spoke, I think last year or 2 years ago, I spoke about why is it if you're the son of Abraham, obviously Abraham gave birth to him, but that's a discussion for another time. I want to speak about who Abraham and Yitzchak, what they were and what they represented in terms of zooming out their lives, what they represented and how that affects us in day to day. So just a preface, the Ramban explains something powerful in the book of Bereshit, the first book of the 5 books of the Torah. Guess how many mitzvot there are? Mitzvot of the 613. Only 3. 3 mitzvot in the entire book of Bereshit out of the 613. So clearly, the book of Bereshit is not here to dictate, in theory, our day-to-day lives when it comes to performing the mitzvot and coming close to Hashem. So the Ramban explains, but the Torah is also not a history book. It doesn't tell us every episode that happened in their lives. It doesn't focus on every small detail. What it picks and chooses to tell us, what Hashem decided to tell us about the lives of the forefathers, have serious implications to our lives. How so? The Ramban explains, Maaseh avot siman labanim. The actions and the stories of our forefathers are signs for the children. Basically, when we learn these parashiot, the 3 mitzvot we perform, Brit Milah, Peru Revu is the first one, be fruitful and multiply, we have a mitzvah, men have mitzvah to have children, obviously they have children with a woman.
Rabbi Adam's class.
Yeah, Rabbi Adam's class is Sefer HaChinuch, is doing mitzvot. First mitzvah is Peru Revu, procreate, have children. Second mitzvah is Brit Milah. Third mitzvah is Gidan Hashem. The mitzvah of Brit Milah is from Sefer Bereshit. And don't eat the sciatic nerve in the animal is also from Bereshit. 3 mitzvot, that's it. Then we go all the way till Bo until we get the next mitzvah. So clearly the remaining parashiot and the remaining storyline, like the Ramban says, is meant to teach us lessons for our day-to-day lives. Good? So with this pasuk, the book Avodat Penim, he explains it, again, he's going into the depths of the idea. When we glance over it quickly, it's not, we wouldn't think about it, but he's diving in to this pasuk. We know Avraham, there's a few things Avraham stood for. Most famously, Avraham, our forefather, was the pillar of emunah, of faith in Hashem. Emunah and bitachon, and trust in God. He found God on his own. He was called Avraham HaIvri. He was on the other side. The whole world worshipped idols and worshipped inanimate objects. Avraham was able to overcome that desire, temptation, and realize that just because the sun is big doesn't mean the sun created the world. And he was able to find and see and trust and believe in a God that was not tangible, that was not, you weren't able to see. He also invented the concept of tefillah, of prayer. Again, these things go hand in hand. The idea of emunah, faith and trust in Hashem. What about Yitzchak? What is Yitzchak? So the Mekwalim say Yitzchak is Avraham is Chesed, Yitzchak is Tiferet, is Din. But to keep it more simple, not dive into the Kabbalah, Yitzchak, we see from this 6th parasha, gives us a concept of simcha, of happiness. Why? Tzechok asali Elohim. When they heard that they were going to be given a child, tzechok, everyone's going to make it's going to make us a laughing stock, is how the Torah responded. Or we see later psukim that discuss Yitzchak. When in the 6th parasha, there's a scene that Yitzchak was with his wife Rivka, and someone saw them happening, and the description of it was metzachek, was making her happy, making her enjoy. That was the description of the husband and wife together. So we have this concept of simcha of tzechok, of laughter, of rejoice by Yitzchak. So the Avodat Peninim says something fascinating. He says, the true happiness, hasimcha amiti shel ha'adam, lo ba, lo mikesef v'lo mikavod, v'lo mishum ta'anugim sheba'olam. The true happiness doesn't come from honor, doesn't come from wealth, doesn't come from any pleasure in this world. The true simcha is a derivative from emunah, says the book Avodat Peninim. When we invest and grow in our emunah, that's how we achieve the highest level of happiness. And that's why, according to this deeper understanding, it says Avraham holid Yitzchak. Avraham, who resembled emunah, birthed his son Yitzchak. This extra language on a deeper level is coming to imply and teach this lesson that Yitzchak is a derivative of Avraham. Laughter and simcha comes on the heels of emunah and bitachon. Good? Ima emunah molida etzel ha'adam simcha, hu be'emet ma'amin. This is the fascinating line. He says, therefore, if emunah, if our trust in Hashem can actually achieve true happiness, then you know you are a believer in God. And now we get into deeper discussion. Until here is a talk about emunah. Now we flip to the reverse end of trust and happiness. What's the reverse end of happiness? De'aga, worry. Being worried, concerned, anxious, nervous. And the Shlomo Melech says, De'aga belev ish yesichena. When someone has worry in the heart of man, they should speak it out. That's what it literally translates to. And the commentators explain, the Ralbag says, Ki ein ba'de'aga to'elet klal, ach nezek. Veda ki ha'de'aga davar ha'cholef hu shigaon. The Ralbag says something fascinating. He says, worry, the essence of worry, achieves nothing at all. We said emunah, true emunah, can achieve happiness. Trust and faith in God will get us to be happiness, as opposed to de'aga, worry, will not achieve anything. In fact, worrying will only harm. It's not saying be cautious. Being careful is not what we're saying. We're saying worry, being nervous, anxiety will never achieve anything. In fact, it'll only cause harm. And he says, someone who has worry, it itself is a sort of craziness. It itself is illogical and irrational for a believing Jew. He says that someone who has worry and is always worrying, the Ralbag calls him a meshuga, a crazy person. Now why? He says, Mazal she'adaga lo mo'ila klal, ki im hayom anashim kol kach chosheshim umudagim, mi yodea איך הם היו נראים אילו היא הייתה מועילה, היו שולחים מכונית הנשמה. We say, thank God that worry actually doesn't dictate and have any impact on our lives in actuality. Why? Because if worry was able to dictate our lives, then if everyone would worry, would actually bring upon themselves that calamity that they're scared of, then the society wouldn't function. Yeah?
So, just so I clarify before I ask, this commentary is written by a rabbi, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I feel like a lot of the times that there is commentary written by rabbis, they're not so connectable to your average human being. Like, for example, in this scenario, he's like, yeah, it takes a crazy person to have doubt in Hashem, but
no. Not it takes a crazy person to have worry.
Have worry.
Yeah.
But the average human being,
exactly,
and almost no one is perfect. I'm sure
correct.
Not even the rabbis that were writing these were 100% perfect.
Correct.
Have worry.
So that's exactly the point. It's an excellent question that I want to answer when we get to the end. The point of this idea, when I saw it, it resonated with me, is we all worry. That's exactly the point. It's innate in us. As humans, we were created with worries. And part of our job, we said, there's connecting to Hashem in how we conduct ourselves, in our business, in physicality, putting on tefillin, doing mitzvot, tefillah. There's also connecting to Hashem with our character. refining ourselves to become the best person we can be. That's also Torah. Working on yourself, improving your life, improving. Not obviously, there's one realm of physical, actually fulfilling the Torah, keeping kosher, Shabbat, learning Torah. That's important. But beyond that, perfecting ourselves is also Torah. It's also what the Torah wants from us. It's also a mitzvah. Worry is a character flaw. So the point of this is not to I understand exactly what you're saying. Come on, it's irrational to ask no one to worry.
Like, do the rabbis themselves truly believe that is are they writing this in a way to prove exactly the point that you're saying?
Of course, yes.
But they're not writing this in a way that they are being literal and that no, you should never. It's crazy.
No, so Shlomo Melech is saying that we should never worry. I'm vaguely translating his line. The Ralbag is understanding that commentary to be that. But obviously, we worry. The point of it is, it's not halacha never to worry. It's we have to train ourselves in part of our pursuit in this world to perfect ourselves and our character and our conduct to worry as little as possible. You understand?
Yeah.
So because reality is people worry, Shlomo is teaching us this concept of worry, if you think intellectually about it, doesn't achieve anything. Anxieties cause more good than bad. Yeah, what were you going to say?
But wouldn't also a positive of being worried be that you'll pray now more?
Oh,
Like,
very
God
good.
forbid if someone's in the hospital, you're not worried for their health.
Very, very good. Very, very good. Very good. So I wasn't even going to go into this, but to answer your question, of course, everything in our life happens for a reason. That's part of bitachon. So when you stub your toe, you have two options. I can either curse and yell, who put this Lego on the floor, or I can react, thank you Hashem that I stubbed my toe and I didn't break my arm. That something worse didn't happen to me. And our reaction to stimuli is our level in our Yirat Hashem, our fear of Hashem, how much we connected to God, how much we think about God. So exactly that. So obviously, we always say we want to pray for everything to be good before before the calamity arises. So we should ideally pray wholeheartedly when everything is good. Thank Hashem for health, for parnasah, for refuah shlema, for our parents, for our siblings, whatever it may be. Thank it when it's good, because then we don't want Him to test us and test our relationship by giving us a punishment in that way. You get it? So exactly. Yes, good comes from it, but we don't want that to be why we have to achieve it. You get it?
Yeah.
We don't want to get to worry to then improve ourselves. We can learn from the stories, which is why I began with the Ramban, learn from our forefathers and apply those to our lives. You get it? So it's a very question. Let's wrap up with this idea. And he explains something very, very powerful. He says, imagine you have Trump that guarantees you $2 million a year. $2 million a year because I like you. Not from Trump, there's a whatever, guaranteed. The most powerful person in the world. You'll be happy, you're responding ear to ear. Obviously you'll be happy. How can't you be happy when you get such a promise, such a guarantee? So Rabbeinu Bechaya says something fascinating. He says, "Uminyan habitachon hu sheyeh libo chazak bebitchono ki'ilu yiftechu Hashem yitbarach." The deepest level of this bitachon, of trust in Hashem, is to implement in our lives that Hashem is in charge and everything will be for the best, as if the promise of 2 million is from Hashem. So obviously the clear question is, Hashem isn't promising us 2 million. I agree. But the more we invest in ourselves and focus and have emunah and bitachon in Hashem, and we say it in the Siddur. With the Sfardim, we say it after, right before Aleinu. Kavel Adonai chazak ve'amet tzedekah ve'kavel Adonai. It's towards the end of the tefillah. Many people skip over it. This line, Kavel Adonai, the Gemara in Barachot tells us that even if someone doesn't get the prayers don't get answered, pray again, because the pasuk says, Kavel Adonai, seek out, have hope in Hashem, chazak ve'amet tzedekah, have a lot of might and heart in your heart, the Kavel Adonai, and seek out Hashem again. This idea, this line, teaches us the concept of instilling in us every day more and more trust and faith and emunah and bitachon in Hashem. So he's saying, imagine your reaction to a promise from Trump. Lehavdil, we have that promise from Hashem every day. We just have to trust and believe in it. Now, Hashem's promise of health, of success, of happiness, having eyes, having limbs, being able to walk, the things we take for granted are much more than $2 million. Much more. Someone who, God forbid, is terminally ill, on his deathbed, he would give every penny in the world to be like any one of us. Yes or no? So we have a bigger than $2 million gift. It's just our outlook. We have to remind ourselves day in and day again that how blessed and how amazing our lives actually are. So I want to just wrap up with this. We have to walk in the streets with this concept and belief in Hashem that you're alive, you're here, trust in Hashem, He'll take care of you. You have a hurdle, you're concerned, don't let the worry get to you. Bitachon and emunah, we do our part. I'm not saying I'm trusting Hashem wholeheartedly that I'll have my money and I don't do any work. No. You trust, you have bitachon, but you also put your work. We always say, imagine it's an Excel formula, okay? There's your hishtadlut, the work you put in, the marketing, the capital, the brain, the time you spend, the effort you put, the travel, all of these are variables, but then they put in their parentheses times the Hashem factor. What's basic math? What's the unique part about times of a multiplication?
Either way you do it, 2 times 1 is the same as 1 times.
Very good. 2 times 1 is the same. I can put all the effort in. If the Hashem factor is 1, it'll be the same as 2. If God forbid the Hashem factor is 0, all your effort is for naught. Bankruptcy, God forbid, bad deals, we see it sometimes. But if the Hashem factor is 2, then your effort will be doubled. Your work and your mitzvot. So because it's dual-pronged, we should always remind ourselves that I do my part, but there's also the Hashem factor. I give my tzedakah, that way my Hashem factor will multiply, will increase. And that's the idea that he's going on. He says a nice story, I'll wrap up with this. There was once a rabbi that was traveling from Yerushalayim to America, and he wanted to find a place to sleep. Okay, long story short, he was going from door to door. He was looking for a place with a mezuzah, a motel with a mezuzah. Okay, at least the owner will be Jewish. That's it, good. After 2, 3, 4 hours of looking, couldn't find anything. He's in rural America, whatever. Finds a motel with a mezuzah. Wow, so excited. Knocks on the guy. The guard opens the door. Oh, mezuzah, Baruch Hashem, opens the door. The guy, lo and behold, a non-Jew opens the door. He says, "Excuse me?" He says, "Are you Jewish?" No. He's like, whatever. He's getting late. I have to stay the night. He goes in, gets a room, but he asks, "Can I ask you a question? Why is there mezuzah on your door?" So the guy, the non-Jew, answers him and says, "I bought this a long time ago when I visited Jerusalem. I was visiting. I bought it. I said, you know what? Let's put it on my door. That's fine." Good. Okay. The guy goes to sleep, wakes up, checks out. Tomorrow morning, asks the guy, "Very good. I just have a random question. Why? What inspired you to buy this mezuzah when you were visiting Israel?" And he says, "I visited, I enjoyed, I saw all the doors there, had this thing, so I bought the parchment, and I bought the case, I put it on my door. If they had it and they were successful, I wanted to be successful as well." So he tells as a joke, he's like, according to halacha, every few years you should check your mezuzah, make sure it's still kosher, that ink didn't fade, what didn't get sun damage or water damage, whatever. "Oh, cool, I didn't know. Here you go." He takes it off, then he gives it to the rabbi to check. The rabbi opens the case, looks at the mezuzah, and it's empty. And he looks at the non-Jew motel owner. He's like, "The case, it's empty. There's nothing in here." And the guy looks at him and says, "Yeah, I bought it from a guy in Yerushalayim, and he said he already put the scroll in there for me. But I said, I don't need to do it. He told me how to just hang it up. So he said, I don't need the instructions, I don't need the manual. I threw out the guide, and I hung up the case." And the guy, obviously, it's a cute story, but I threw out the manual, I threw out the guide. For us, the Torah is our guide. we can laugh about this, but we learn from Yitzchak, we can never laugh about the guide. The Aleph Bet of a Jewish person is emunah and bitachon. It's faith and trust. We see from Abraham, we see from Yitzchak, this laughter is important. This element of simcha, happiness, is integral, and the highest, most pure, innocent way of achieving happiness is a derivative of emunah, is secondary to trust in Hashem. And we'll wrap up with this. Avraham holidat Yitzchak, Yehudi tzarich emunah shemolida simcha. We need to work on our emunah, on our faith and trust in Hashem, that produces happiness, that eliminates worry and causes us to rejoice and be calm and be content with the blessings that we have in our lives. And that's one small idea. Again, this is beneath the surface of the parasha, but it's an outlook that we learn from the stories of Abraham and Yitzchak. We learn from the stories of our forefathers in Bereshit how to impact and affect and change our lives for the better. And it's small steps. It's small things every day, acknowledging Hashem, doing a mitzvah. I had a rabbi in high school that used to say, whatever you do one thing every day for Hashem. So he said, as simple as make one bracha a day. He said, one time, so my class was, let's say, mixed, whatever. No, I had him for another class. I had him for Torah Bowl. He was telling the lower class. He was saying, promise me one thing that every single day, one time, you'll make a bracha of shakol. We drink how many times of water? Water, cokes, coffee, whatever we drink. 20 times a day we take a sip of something. One time a day make a bracha. If you're not at the level to say it every time. But at the bare minimum, you do something in our busy lives, in our busy days, to remember Hashem, to connect to Hashem, to come closer to Hashem. All of us need to take these lessons from Abraham, from Yitzchak, work on our emunah, work on our bitachon, work on this faith, so it produces happiness, so it induces trust, tranquility, being calm, being grateful, being happy with what we have. And that way, by focusing on and improving our trust, on its own, we'll dismiss and we'll push aside worry, and we'll be able to live happy and healthy lives. Thank you guys for joining. Chazak u'baruch.